Hi there. Thank you for downloading my 3D print for the LS800D slash EV800D goggles. Today I'll be throwing these all together and just showing you how to do the full assembly. So I'm just going to work my way through the parts, starting from the right side all the way to the left. So starting off over here, I have two bendable antennas, not the ones that come with the EV800D, but these will be suitable for just receiving. I usually use this setup for people who are trying to watch what FPV video I'm taking while I'm flying. So next, I have this M4 by 30 screw. This is an electrical screw, so it doesn't have a pointy end on one side. And this one specifically is a fine thread. You can get any one of these M3 screws, or sorry, M4 screws, wherever. And it's got a Robinson square um, little bit for screwing. Um, Next, I also have the little nut that goes on the end of the screw, and I'll show you what this is for later. Um, Over here, I have the kind of glasses portion, and you'll notice that off of the file that they kind of look inwards as if you were looking onto the screen focused in the middle. Um, and these will be fitting the two dollar store lenses that I bought. I have 20/20 vision, so I have these +4 lenses. So I'll hold that up to the camera here. I know the quality is not the best, but I am doing what I can work with. So um, these dollar store lenses I bought for $1.25. You can find them almost anywhere. And if in the case that these do not fit, you can always take a little bit of sandpaper and smooth out the edges in order to have it friction fit in here. And even on top of that, you can add a little bit of, say, adhesive, super glue, hot glue, Gorilla Glue, just around the edges to keep the lenses in. I designed this to friction fit, specifically with these lenses. Um, the next part over here, this is the top plate. So what I did was the text is hard to see, especially with the black paint. Ideally, printing in black is quite useful because when you have the screen, it kind of blocks out the light that gets trapped inside. So you can focus on primarily the screen. And I added a little bit of, you can either use nail polish or was it acrylic paint, and you can fill in the gaps so you can more easily see the letters. You can print in whatever color you want, but I chose black in this case. I have a little screw tray here. These are the 8 screws that come with the LS800D that I bought originally, and we will be reusing those. Over here, this is the little screen and the board that comes with the LS800D, and here is the battery that comes with the board. This is just a single cell, cheap Chinese battery that was installed in the goggles. um, Next thing I have over here, this is the frame for the TV, and you'll notice that the screen will fit in between these two parts. And I'll show you how this all fits together later because there are some kind of dividing bits for the board and for the screen and for the battery. So um, yeah, I'll go into a little bit more detail when I'm putting these together. Um, Next thing that I want to go over is this a lens, the Fresnel lens that comes with EV800D, LS800D. And you'll notice that one side is a smooth side and one side is a rough side. Um, the orientation doesn't matter all too much. The quality that you're going to get from the screen isn't going to be obstructed by dust or anything like that, but I'll go into a little bit more detail when I start putting those together. Next thing, this is the kind of the most of the box that has that's basically placed underneath your eyes, and it's got two locations for the LS800D straps on either side, and a couple slots up at the front for the Fresnel lens. And you'll notice that this is a little bit flexible. It was mainly to save weight. It makes putting the screen in a little bit more difficult, and we'll work it through a little bit later. And I'll show you how to do it. Lastly, we have the top plate, and this is the last thing that will be installed on the goggles. Um, it has a lip on the front of the on the front of the top part of the goggles to keep the screen in. Mainly, sometimes when I started doing the testing for this, the screen would pop out, so I didn't really like that. It's got a top loop for your goggle strap. These are the same EV800D goggle straps that I used originally, and there are a couple loops for mounting it onto this box a little bit later. So um, I'm going to get straight into it. First, we're going to start off by loading up the TV portion. So in here, there are a few parts that I want to highlight. First off, in the back here, in this slot and this slot, this is where the battery goes. Secondly, if I tilt this forward a little bit more, I'm not sure how good the quality is, but the first slot that you will see right here, this is the slot for the screen, and there's another part of the slot on this side, and behind that screen will the board sit. So I'm going to throw this all together. First off, I'm going to fold the screen and board together like so. And this kind of wire strip will be sitting on the bottom of the box. So I'm going to firstly slide in the screen into that first slot that I mentioned earlier, and also at the same time I'm going to slide the second board in onto the onto the back slot. So when you throw the two pieces in, what you will see is that you have the screen up close by the front here, and you will also see that you have the board sitting in behind. I have not put the battery in yet. Something to note, if you have electrical tape, you can add it to the top of the screen. You'll notice I have two black electrical tapes I put on here, and I have two little black electrical tape tabs on either side. And this is mainly to compress the screen and compress the board in order for it to not jiggle around when you're moving around transport. It's more of a picky thing on my end. There's no problem if the board and the screen move around because you're not moving your head while you're flying. So once you finish that in, I'm going to take my battery and I'm going to slide it back in that last slot that I mentioned earlier, and I can stuff the wires in onto one side of the LS800D. So that's the lower assembly for the screen portion. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to move on to the top portion. So I'm going to take the top part of my screen here, And you'll notice a few of these um, are sized for buttons, and a few of these are sized for the antennas. So you'll notice that two of these holes are not in line with the rest of them, and they're titled B and A. So those two are going to be for our antennas, and that's where these two antenna leads will stick out. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be flipping this over and I'm going to be assembling upside down. It is a little bit finicky because there's no springs that are for this design. But once you throw it all together, it's meant to stay together and not be removed, taken apart. So I'm going to start off by taking these 5 buttons all printed. And I printed these in white. It's a more of a design choice. There's no specific reason why you should be printing these in different colors, but if you want to go green, if you want to go red, no problem. So you'll notice these buttons have a small side and a large side, and the small side will be going into our top plate uh, just to keep the buttons captive. So what I mean by that is I'm going to have these buttons upside down. So the small side will be going into our upside down top plate. So I'm going to take all 5 of these and arrange them as so. Now I'm keeping in mind as well, I'm not putting these in the antenna holes. I'm putting these where the button holes should be. So I'm just going to slide these in here like that. So now if I push these through, they're staying all in one spot, and I have the 2 holes for those open, and I also have the SD card slot over here. So this is probably going to be the most finicky part of the installation. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the screen up to the sky, and I'm also going to have the buttons up to the sky. And in order to keep the buttons in here, I'm going to be installing the screen upside down, sort of like this. Excuse me. And these are going to be mating together. So keep in mind that there are 2 slots on either side for the screen. I have this one over here, and I have this one over here. And I'm going to lead with those 2 wrapping around the screen, as so. Oh, whoops. One of the buttons came off because I tilted too much. And there we go. So I've cut the video. The reason why that this wasn't going in on my first try is I forgot to mention earlier that the battery wire can sometimes get caught in between the 2 parts here. So what I did was I pushed that wire in to make sure that there was no wire that was getting caught in between the 2 parts here. So after throwing that all together, we're going to take our screwdriver with the original LS800D screws, and we're going to screw these in just to hold them all in place. Actually, I'm going to use a bigger screwdriver. My smaller screwdriver won't work. So I'm going to screw these in. No particular pattern to screw these in. You can go in any sort of pattern you want. I just like to go diagonally to make sure that there's an even amount of pressure all the way around the top plate and the bottom assembly. Okay. So these are all 4 screwed in. And that is the front assembly pretty much done. Now, before continuing, I always like to do a quick check, make sure I can turn on the goggles, and it looks like I can. So I'm just going to hold that button so that comes off again, and that's that assembly. So I'm going to set that aside over here. The next part of the assembly are these little glasses. And how I designed them is that I would take these lenses, obviously clean them first, make sure that there's nothing on them, and they friction fit into here. So you can use glasses, or you can use like a lens cleaner. You can use a little lens wipe, or even like maybe cotton balls can work. Um, nothing too nothing too fancy. Just so you have no debris underneath where the glasses fit in. And you can always use a little bit of adhesive, super glue, hot glue, and just go around the trim of the glasses. Make sure that none gets onto the lenses. And once you're done that, then these glasses are pretty much good to go. So that's that part. I'm going to take this lower assembly here, and I'm going to show you what to do with this. So it's up to you whether or not you want to use the Fresnel lens. I prefer to do it just to protect the screen from any debris coming in through the goggles when you're not using it. And there's a smooth side and there's a rough side. So the rough side I prefer to have facing forward. So the smooth side is on this side, because when, say, you're not using your goggles or you have it up like this and your screen's on the bottom, if dust gets onto this, I would rather have the dust on the smooth side than get caught on the rough side. So I'm going to put this, so the smooth side would be facing toward my eyes and the rough side is facing toward the screen. And you'll notice when you go all the way down, there's still a little bit of a lip, and I've accounted that in the design up here. Okay, so the next thing that I would want to do is put on the lenses. So this is going to be a very interesting part. So the way to allow this to adjust is a screw. So this screw over here, I'm going to insert into from back to front, and I'm going to put the glasses on the end of this screw. And what this is going to allow me to do is, say if I am out on the field or I'm flying, I will be able to adjust these glasses. So I'm going to start screwing this in, and this might take a little bit of time because I have a fairly fine thread on this screw, but you'll notice the more and more I screw it in, the glasses portion is going to slide back toward me. So if I give it some time, it'll slowly make its way to the back. Okay, so once I have that in, I'm going to take this little 3D printed nut that I used. And this nut, I did not want to use a off-the-shelf nut because the nut would come off. So I made it small enough where the nut will spin with the screw. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to push the back of this nut and make sure that it fits onto the end of the screw. And so what happens is if I play around with the screw, that nut is going to rotate. And I want that to happen. The reason being is that it allows the screw to spin, but the nut won't come off. So I can, make this go as far out as I want, like so, or I can bring it closer by spinning it clockwise. Okay, so that's the top assembly sort of done. And something that I did earlier that I can't show in this video because I already installed it was I took the original goggles and I took a thread and sewed this on, so I won't be able to take this off. But essentially what you would do is you would cut the the top of the goggles off the band, and you can thread it through, down through the bottom and up through the top, and wrap it all the way around like this. So you'd be able to strap it around your head. Um, Threading is optional, but I would recommend it so the band doesn't come off while you're flying. That could be an issue. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the top portion. So the next thing I want to do is I want to put these two parts together. So you'll notice that there is a fairly fragile slot on either side um, of each of these goggles. And I'm going to throw this on top. So I'm going to slide this on top, just like how the regular EV800Ds are supposed to go on. And I'm going to slowly add equal amounts of pressure on either side and work my way down the goggles. And I'm going to go back and forth. And what I mentioned was here earlier, this is a little bit flexible, which is why you will have to go back and forth in order to put this on. And I'll push it all the way down. So now when I'm done, the bottom of the box portion and the screen portion should be matching together. And that is that portion done. The next thing I want to do is I want to mount the top box on top. So what I'm going to be doing next is I'm first going to wrap the goggle straps in on these two screw parts on either side. And you'll notice that the LS800D or the EV800D already does this. So it's a very similar design. I'm going to take the loops and I'm going to put it inside, line on the inside of this portion. And same thing on the other side. I'm going to line it up and push it in. And then lastly, I'm going to take the top portion and I'm just going to put it on top, like so. And you'll notice it'll fit nice and snug with the goggles on the back, or the strap on the back. And I'm going to finish off by putting in the last few screws on the top of the goggles. So that's one screw. I put in the second screw. And then the third screw. And then lastly, the fourth screw. Just make sure that fits in there. It's always the last one that's being a little bit finicky. Okay. And essentially, your goggles are done. If I turn this on, you'll be able to see inside, and the lenses help out with that. Something I would also recommend getting, not related to the goggles whatsoever, but you can get these little RP SMA uh, adapters. And what this is supposed to do is that in order to protect each of these antenna leads, these are RP SMA, there are only so many times that you'll be able to put an antenna on or take an antenna off. And with how bulky these box goggles are, if you take it on and off, take these antennas on and off too many times, you will start to wear out these leads. So you can get these little RP SMA adapters for very cheap, and you can thread them on. And so after 100, 200 different mating cycles, times I put the antenna on and take it off. All I have to do is replace the antenna and replace this. I don't have to replace the screen. So that is something to keep in mind. And once I'm done with that, like this is pretty much good to go. So thank you again for purchasing these goggles or purchasing my frame kit for these. I hope that they're going to be more useful for your use. And yeah, if I come up with anything else or any new updates, I will be sure to add it to the project files. Thank you very much.